ABC Listen. Podcasts, radio, news, music and more.
G'day, I'm Matt Bevan from the podcast If You're Listening. It's 2025 and the world is, well...
increased Russian military activity around key undersea cables.
There's a huge plume of smoke.
Look what happened. Is this crazy?
That's going to take some explaining. My podcast, If You're Listening, makes sense of world news one story at a time. Find it now on ABC Listen.
Elon Musk thinks the peak USAID agency is evil. And so, in his powerful position as Donald Trump's cost cutter, he's trying to get rid of it. JFK, the president who set it up, may very well be turning in his grave. So, what's Mr Musk really up to? And why? I'm Sam Hawley on Gadigal land in Sydney. This is ABC News Daily.
Aid organisations have been left scrambling for answers after US President Donald Trump's executive order to freeze aid funding for 90 days.
When you look at USAID, that's a fraud. The whole thing is a fraud.
USAID is one of many federal agencies the Trump administration is targeting as it works to slash federal spending.
We just want to do the right thing. It's something that should have been done a long time ago. It went crazy during the Biden administration. They went totally crazy what they were doing, and the money they were giving to people that shouldn't be getting it and to agencies and others that shouldn't be getting it. It was a shame. So they're tremendous fraud.
Hi, I'm Matthew Maury. I'm the CEO for the Australian Council for International Development.
Matthew, we're going to unpack the motivation behind this aid freeze by Donald Trump and, of course, Elon Musk in a moment from an American perspective. But we really wanted to talk to someone who's working in the aid sector here to get a sense of what it's been like for Australian workers, because this is actually affecting aid workers around the world, isn't it?
That's right. It's having sweeping impact on the entire global humanitarian and development system. It's been shocking and heartbreaking to see the impact and the cost in human terms. I mean, the problem has been twofold. One is programming has stopped in all sorts of projects. So clinics have been closed, schools have been shut, babies are no longer getting vaccinated, the hungry are not getting food, refugees are not getting services in refugee camps. The list is quite long and quite dramatic, and we already have stories of people losing their lives because of this decision.
In Southeast Asia, the move to suspend aid has led to deaths, layoffs and confusion in a region where rival donors such as China compete for influence.
The Umpian Mai migrant camp on the Thai-Myanmar border is about as far as you can get from the White House.
Staff from the NGO International Rescue Committee came and ordered the hospital here to shut down immediately. All of the patients were told to go home, but some patients who needed oxygen support later died.
Wow, okay, and of course, thousands of people, they had a job one day and a really important job providing aid to people in need, and the next day they didn't.
Yeah, the impact has been big, not just on USAID staff. There's 10,000 staff at USAID who are losing their jobs. But the ripple effect of the funding freeze is that Australian NGOs are having to look at reducing their staff. I have several stories of local partners in the Pacific who've had to terminate their staff and close their offices because they have no funding. So it's had a huge impact on the capacity for the sector to deliver the aid program as well.
Mm. And how do, Matthew, aid agencies like yours, how do you respond to this? I mean, we know Donald Trump does not like his critics, right? Are people worried about talking out against Donald Trump?
There is definitely concern that agencies who criticize Trump or his administration might be further targeted. The aid program has been put on a 90-day freeze while they review it. And so there's definitely concern that agencies who might criticize this decision might then become targeted like so many of Trump's other political foes. At the end of 90 days, we've been told that they're either going to tell organizations that their programs have to stop, or they have to change them dramatically, or they're going to be able to continue. But we already know that because these decisions are based on certain ideologies that, for instance, don't believe that people with disabilities should be prioritized, or that women and gender-based programs shouldn't be prioritized, or that climate change doesn't exist. Those are all programs that we believe are not going to be continued. And these are programs that are significantly needed at a time when the world is facing big global challenges. Building bigger walls and nationalistic proposals in terms of foreign policy are not going to solve these problems. I find it heartbreaking. I've worked in the aid and development sector for 35 years. I've been colleagues with many of these people. I've seen the impact, the positive impact, the life-saving impact on the ground. So to hear the rhetoric and the lies that are being told, it's not just heartbreaking, it's actually is quite angering.
My name is Alan Yu. I'm the Senior Vice President for National Security and International Policy at the Center for American Progress, which is a progressive center-left think tank in Washington, D.C.
Alan, at the beginning of the working week last week, USAID workers were basically told not to bother coming to work. Just explain to me what unfolded.
This announcement basically instructed USAID workers first not to come into the office, and then later on in the week to basically announce that he was going to put 10,000 of them on administrative leave to basically dismantle and disband our Foreign Assistance Agency.
Yeah, and that involves thousands of workers, just to clarify, doesn't it?
Yes.
A lot of people. Of course, Elon Musk, as the head of DOGE, which is the Department of Government Efficiency, is overseeing this. He went on to X and said, basically, we're shutting down USAID, just shutting it down. It's extraordinary.
Yeah, it is extraordinary, and frankly, it's illegal. According to U.S. law, an independent agency like USAID, the authority for reforming and shutting it down lies with our Congress. It does not lie with the executive branch, and it certainly doesn't lie with Elon Musk, who is not an elected official.
All right, well then let's, Alan, consider the reasoning behind this move, because it is not by any means just about saving money. Elon Musk, he says that USAID, it's a viper's nest of radical left Marxists who hate America. He says it's evil, a criminal organisation. I mean, Donald Trump, he says it's run by a bunch of radical lunatics.
I love the concept, but they turn out to be radical left lunatics. And the concept of it is good, but it's all about the people.
I mean, their language around this, it's pretty concerning.
Concerning is one way to characterize it, Samantha. I mean, it's just straight out lies, I think, is just as appropriate. There's a question about their character. And then the second is the agenda that they're trying to advance. You know, on the character side, I see, frankly, a lot of hubris. Also, at the same time, just a fundamental ignorance of what U.S. government does, but then also fundamentally an absence of just curiosity and inquisitiveness. If there really were an interest in trying to improve operations, there would be an inquiry of where the problems are and how to improve things. And that's clearly not driving what they're doing. And then also there is an underlying interest in trying to demonstrate that the Trump administration can reduce government in order to capture financial savings that they can use to justify an upcoming fight that they're going to have in trying to extend income tax cuts that are going to expire at the end of the year. In order to do that, they need to justify actions that they can do to offset the loss in revenues. And USAID's budget has been about 60 or 70 billion annually. The total U.S. government budget is about 6 trillion a year. So this is not a savings. This is actually much more a symbolic action that I think they'll try to use rhetorically to make a justification for their tax cuts.
It's about 0.6% of total US annual government spending. So as you note, it's not that much really. But Donald Trump, of course, has been a long-term critic of overseas spending, and he says it needs to be brought into line with this, America First strategy. And he's really praising Elon Musk for doing a brilliant job, he says, at making these cuts.
Elon is doing a great job. He's finding tremendous fraud and corruption and waste. You see it with the USAID, but you're going to see it even more so with other agencies and other parts of government. He's got.
As you said, Alan, the conspiracy theories, there's even one out there that USAID paid celebrities like Angela Jolie and Ben Stiller millions of dollars to go to Ukraine. There's just so much misinformation around this, isn't there?
Yeah, there is. And that story has no founding. Again, another falsehood that the administration has rolled out in this context.
Yeah, all right. Well, a judge in the US has put a temporary pause to parts of this freeze, but I gather the uncertainty remains. Has that made any difference at this point?
This has put a pause in the actions against the USAID employees, but that has not had any impact or ruling vis-a-vis the programs that USAID that are still frozen. And so, yes, it's useful as a way to at least stop some of the most egregious actions against USAID officials and employees, but the programmatic impacts continue to be, really quite profound.
The chaos that this has caused, it's intense, isn't it? Just put that into perspective for me. What has it meant on the ground?
USAID does work across the world addressing humanitarian crises, but also advancing women's empowerment, global health issues, fighting against corruption. All of that work has been put on ice because of what Elon Musk has put in place. The areas of most acute concern are the activities that the U.S. government is doing in support of global health issues, HIV, AIDS, and of course, the support that we're trying to provide to Ukraine. All of those things are frozen because of this.
Well, USAID, it's been around for a really long time, of course, set up by JFK in 1961.
People who are opposed to aid should realize that this is a very powerful source of strength for us.
So if Musk does succeed and this is the end of the agency, what does that really look like? What does it mean?
It's a world that's just very hard to imagine. It's a world where the United States' role in the world and the leadership in the world really is undermined. It's a world where it becomes more isolated and, at least from the United States perspective, and much more transactional. I take some hope in looking to other partners, Australia, Japan, other liberal democracies in Europe and Latin America and other parts of the world in stepping up and compensating for the very short-sighted and wrong directions that this administration is taking.
Alan Yu is a Senior Vice President for National Security and International Policy at the Centre for American Progress in Washington, D.C. This episode was produced by Cara Jensen McKinnon. Audio production by Sam Dunn. Our supervising producer is David Cody. I'm Sam Hawley. To get in touch with the team, please email us on ABC News Daily at abc.net.au. Thanks for listening.